Welcome to the Simply Real Life podcast. I'm Sarah, the founder of Simply Real Health, here to help you simplify, amplify, and elevate your life. This show is for those of you who want the real talk on how to live a more intuitive and intentional life, a life that's healthy from the inside out, and one that feels more effortless, aligned, simple, and more alive. We cover it all, from health, wellness, mindset, motherhood, daily habits and rituals, to business and relationships, creativity and growth, and tiny tricks to feeling your best, and the energetics behind it all filled with personal stories, unfiltered conversations, and of course, answering all of your burning questions, all in the way of simplicity and keeping it real, so that you can create your own version of your healthiest life. Let's do it. Hi guys, welcome back to the show. I have a little bit of a different episode this week, and it's a little bit more personal and behind the scenes and kind of into my deep thoughts over here. For some of you may know this, but I, at the end of August, had a very big birthday. A milestone birthday. I turned 40 at the end of August. And it was one of those days where I almost was anticipating to be deeply feeling so many things. And I think that's very normal. I mean, just birthdays in general, or any type of big transition in your life. It's very normal to feel a lot of different things. And I was anticipating that. And then was also shocked to find that when that day came, actually, what I felt was just a lot of peace and a lot of happiness and just a lot of gratefulness for my life. And yes, I think that is a result of how I choose to see things. And that's kind of my natural lens as I look at the world and look at my life and look at things around me. But I also was struck by feeling so content with my life and how far I've come. And even just the thought that day of like, wow, college age me would be so proud right now. And I also feel like it's a little bit of a different vibe than you hear most people talk about when they turn 40 or they have a milestone birthday. It is filled with sometimes regret, or it's like this huge wake up call, or it's this time to like really, really reflect on your life. And I was giggling to myself because I'm like, I reflect on my life a lot, and to me, that is probably a very different way to live your life than most people. But I'm like, to me, that really helps kind of guide and steer the ship in small ways and micro adjustments and tiny shifts that I make almost every season, checking in with myself, like fall, winter, spring, summer, like what do I need right now? What's my heart saying right now? What do I need a little bit more of in my life? What do I need less of in my life? What am I excited about? Just following things that spark joy for me and that feel really good, that feel really good in my body, that feel really good in my mind, that feel really good with the people I'm surrounding myself with the work I'm creatively doing. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think that I may be very different in that way, where I naturally gravitate towards those things and living in a way that feels very intentional. And I had this great talk with my dad on the morning of my birthday. We were on a trip and it was in the sunshine, and I had my parents with us and my kids and husband. It just was such a sweet, special moment. Like, we didn't do anything fancy or big. We were just together and hanging out and doing all the fun summer stuff. But had this great talk with my dad, and he was like, how you feeling? Like 40. And I know I'm feeling great. I really am feeling great. And just very appreciative and in awe of how my life has turned out. And he said, yes, you are. And there's been luck along the way, but he's like, you have had so many moments of intentionally choosing, intentionally making decisions that have led you here. And I really felt that. I was like, thank you, Dad. I love my dad. He's the best. And I was like, that is true. It's like a million just teeny tiny choices that I make for myself every day to show up for myself, to show up for my health, to, feed myself well. The choices I've made in life around who I marry, around what I want to do for work, around things I want to fill my kids' hearts and their brains with. Like, every day there's so many different choices in front of us. And I think when you are starting to reflect a little bit more deeply about your life in times of change or transition, or around big birthdays or changes of season, whatever it may be, that you start to think through what have those really big, important choices been. And my mind was flooded with so many tiny things, but also some of the really big things. And it was just a reminder of, yeah, our choices really do matter. They really do add up. We are either constantly moving in the direction of growth and alignment and of peace, like feeling really good in our lives and in our bodies with what we're doing and pouring our time and energy into during the day, or these constant little choices that become these tiny paper cuts in the opposite direction of our time and energy getting sucked into things that we don't want, or into the default, or into what other people are doing, or into habits and routines that don't really serve us. And so it was just this really beautiful reminder, and something that I've been thinking about the last couple weeks, how much those little choices and decisions really do add up to how you feel and how your life feels, and the sense of gratitude, purpose, peace that your life is filled with. And this is not to say that I have it all figured out. And by all means, I do not. There are so many things that I still am working through, and obviously still struggle with, and still lose my temper with my kids. And, there's so many things that are just part of normal daily life. No one's perfect. No one has it all figured out. But, having a big birthday and not tons of big feelings around it, just feeling like I'm so thankful, and what a gift it is to be alive and healthy, and to get to the age of 40 and to be in this stage of my life, like just feeling really proud of the things that I have done, maybe more importantly, just the ways that I've done it. So as I was thinking through some of those things, I was thinking, what are the things that I feel like have made maybe the biggest difference in getting to a point to have a reflective birthday, to, make it feel that way, where it's not like full of dread and you're not, oh my gosh, my life is halfway over and what am I even doing? But like, what are the things that have made it so that I do feel very aligned in my. So these are 4 areas of my life that I feel like anytime I have poured time into, or intentionally spent time out of my day, or they're just general themes that I cycle through and I'm always evaluating, being more intentional about, the result in my life has been tenfold, at least for the amount of time that I have put into them. That these are 4 areas that I feel like are always worth putting a little bit of time and extra attention and energy into it. Number 1 is mindset. And this is becoming an overall theme in my life, and something that I have loved learning about, I think especially so in the last 10 years. That's really where a lot of this growth has happened for me, with realizing how much of our life is truly impacted by the thoughts that we think. And a lot of like subconscious thoughts that we don't even know we're thinking. And they turn out to be limiting beliefs and these old stories and patterns around thinking, and really fear-based thinking that things are going to go the worst possible way. And how much those talk tracks really do permeate into your entire existence, into your entire daily routine, into your thoughts about yourself. They pour into relationships you have around you. They pour into your kids. Your mindset, I think, the older that I get, I'm like, man, this stuff is 90% of it. 90% of having a happy life, a healthy life, an intentional life is the way that you think. It's the thoughts that you allow. It's the way that you train your brain. Our brains cannot be left unchecked. They cannot just run wild. There's no one that I know that has just naturally this amazing, great mindset. There's a few people, but it's very, very, very rare. Most of us have to put some type of time and work into our minds, because the way that our brains are naturally wired is not really in our favor. It's like we're not wired to seek gratitude. We're not wired to feel feelings of peace. We're naturally wired to be on the defense every day, to look for the things that are wrong, to look for the things to anticipate, to look for the worst possible case scenario. It's like survival mechanisms in the brain. But until you learn how to actually take control of that so that you can guide those thoughts and those subconscious thoughts that then lead to beliefs, the way that that impacts and controls your life is crazy. When I first started Simply Real Health, I'm like, it's all about the food. That's actually number 2. It is so big in my life. We cannot even have conversations around mindset if you're not eating great quality, real food and nutrient dense food. There's so much that physically affects in our body, like our blood sugar and our energy and our digestion and our mood. Like that needs to be the baseline. But I think in the last 10 years for me, that becomes my baseline where I almost don't think about it anymore. And that's why I tell a lot of people like that do Simply Real Life, or they're doing coaching with me, or anybody that's in any type of group container with me or one-on-one coaching. It's we talk about food and we sink deeply into that and make sure it's set. And that's your foundation. It becomes your normal, becomes your default, where your body gets everything that it needs to function well. And I used to say that food was 90% of it. And now I'm like, this math doesn't math, but food is 90% and then mindset is 90%, and that's the truth of how I feel. Standing at this point in my life, those are the two things I think that make the most difference to how you feel, to your perspective on things, your resilience on things, the way you come back from either thoughts in your head or things that happen in the external world or happen to you. The mindset that it's all happening for you, but that's a different subject that we'll go into. But things happening outside, your resilience and your ability to handle stress and your ability to navigate it and to turn it around and turn things to gold, turn the stuff that's happening to you into things that are happening for you. Like, truly, what a gift in your life. And to me, especially since having kids, there's been this elevation of need for my mindset to be at such a higher level than it ever was before, because I'm handling so many more things. Like my capacity and what I am holding for my kids, for my family, for my husband, for our household, for my relationships, for my work, for my physical body, my own health. I am holding and tending a lot right now in this stage of my life. And if my mindset was in the default setting that we're all kind of born with, there's no way that I could handle and hold all of that. I would be crumbling. I would probably have all these health problems. I would probably have like a lot of emotional highs and lows. I'd have maybe a lot more anger or resentment. There's nothing that affects our daily life more than our mindset and like how we're choosing to see things, how we choose to think of things, the routes that we help walk ourselves through to the other side. It's something that has deeply affected my life and something that I am so grateful for every moment. Every second that I get to work on this for myself, it's something that I know comes back to me tenfold. And this was one of the main motivations this past year to start the Insiders Club, where I have a group of women to be reminded of different ways to navigate through all of life's ups and downs. Like, we all have ups and downs. We all have things that happen during the day or in different seasons of our life or different transitions where we're like needing a little bit more support or encouragement or just reminders that we can create so much of our own experience. And it has been one of the biggest gifts of my life this past year to lead that group, where we meet every other week. It's a live call. We take questions. We take stuff that are going on in people's lives. What's a way to work through this with a better mindset? What's a way to navigate this? What's a way that I can encourage myself to have better habits and better rhythms and become the person that I want to be, rather than just staying stuck in the same old and the same programming of how we are raised in our culture. And so to me, mindset, number one, food, right there with it, 90%, things that have changed my life the most overall. The next two are pretty high up there, almost equal. But I feel like without having your mindset and your food dialed in, you won't see as much of an impact. But taking care of your physical body, your vessel, we only get one. And so whether that's with the food that you're eating or it's how you're moving your body, getting fresh air, stretching, strengthening your muscles as you get older, just pouring time and attention and energy into your health, into your physical vessel is something that will always come back tenfold. And doing so in a way, I feel like in the last 10 years, my big learning on this has been it's not about the extremes and it's not about doing the most and it's not about doing every single day something that's intense or hard. It's about being more consistent and gentle and overall more movement, more strength, but not in this crazy way. Doing it from a place of love versus doing it from a place of competition or how it only impacts how you physically look. I just think there's so much beauty in getting older and seeing this is about the long game and how can I take care of my body in a long-term way. I want to have all my joints working. I don't want them to be pounded into the pavement. I want to have strength, of course, because we lose muscle every year that we age. I want to be able to functionally do things, squat down on the floor, pick up things, twisting, turning, lifting, things that are needed in everyday life to stay active and stay mobile and stay healthy in your body. Any time and energy I have spent doing like reformer Pilates has been so helpful. I think after having 3 kids and having a herniated disc in my back, like I just take it seriously. Things like foam rolling every day, stretching at least at the minimum, doing core exercises at the minimum. Like I do something every single day, no matter how busy the day is. I do it first thing in the morning. And when your body is physically feeling great, both from how you're moving it, but also how you're feeding it, like so much else in life feels better, easier, so much easier to navigate. When your body is hurting or when you're injured or when it's inflamed or when there's stuff going on, it's very hard to feel good because it's the most distracting thing when you don't. And so I think going through those phases in life where you really feel like you don't have that or it's taken away from you, I just would rather give it 5-10 minutes every day, consistently pouring into it in tiny ways. And it's not always perfect, but really putting an effort into that. And I think specifically so getting older, that becomes even more and more important. That's in my calendar. It's a priority that's set in my life that really matters. And I think is one of the reasons that at 40, although 40 is very young, I know I have a lot of listeners at a wide range of ages. Like 40 is very young, and to not be feeling good in your body at 40 is not a great sign for going forward in your life. So I feel happy to report that at least for me, it's working, and to not be doing big extremes and really pouring into like functional movement that's about longevity and strength and motion and releasing tension in muscles. This is truly what it's all about. Okay. The next area that I feel has been so helpful and so life-changing the last 10 years and definitely in the last 7 since having kids is taking my nervous system seriously and actually learning about the nervous system and what it needs and how much I was truly operating in fight or flight mode. I think for most of my life, most of my day, I think as a high achieving person and somebody who has so many dreams and goals and visions, and I've always been like that I had no idea about my nervous system, started a business and was running on coffee and not really taking care of myself in releasing my nervous system and not having my body be in fight or flight all day, where you're running from one thing to the next and you have this huge list of things to do and you're running on adrenaline, or you need something to come down from that, like a glass of wine or scrolling or numbing or watching a show. Being aware of how much your nervous system does impact, because it holds emotions, it holds trauma, it holds memories, it holds these limiting beliefs, it holds so much that when we go through life at this rapid speed, which is what's encouraged, by the way, this is how we are taught to be productive and always on and always doing stuff. And that's really rewarded in our society. And I think that's a great way to be if it is balanced, if it's checked. I think the ideal, right, is being able to do that and turn it on and go when you need to, but not be living fully in that state. I used to be living fully in that state. I think especially so since having kids, you kind of realize, whoa, that's not possible to be in that state. And it doesn't feel good to live your life in that way. So learning how to every day have something in my life that is a nervous system decompressor. And this goes hand in hand with mindset too. Like if our body is always fried and anxious and on edge and pushing to the limit, there's not a lot of room for the reflection time, for the rest, for restorative sleep, for things that make our bodies feel safe. And I find with people a lot of times that like if your body and your nervous system, they're on high alert, like maybe you're not listening. Like you're not listening to the signs that your body's giving you. It's like the biggest clue giver, I think, in our life. Like if you're having all these health issues, if you're feeling like you're not in alignment in your life, not really happy in certain areas, usually our nervous system has been trying to tell us this for like a long time. And I find it's the biggest indicator of feeling like your life is in alignment versus something's out of alignment. And it's a learned practice. A lot of it has to do with mindset work too. Like the two are very closely tied together, but the importance of it, like the fact that we even have a nervous system, most people are not even aware of that. Are you living in this like frantic, go energy all the time? Or do you have time built in for relaxation, for breath release? Like we store all of those emotions. We store all kinds of stuff. Like if we don't have practices of letting it out, like feeling our feelings, writing out emotions, like letting ourselves pause and actually feel and be, our nervous system just tenses up and is holding so much. That's where you get to a breaking point. Then you're yelling and screaming at your kids, or you are in these relationships. You're like, I don't even know how it got to this point. Or even a relationship with your own body. I feel so disconnected from my body. I don't know what it needs. I don't know what it wants. I'm overeating. I'm doing stuff that I know is not helping it, but I can't stop. We get into these cycles with things. Do we have times where we can release, where we can feel, where we can process, a little bit more downtime, a little bit more time spent in that regeneration? And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be this hour of self-care every day, but something small. Like, is it a walk? Is it a shower at the end of the night? Just energetically cleansing off the day. And I find that so many people, especially in this community, are feelers or empaths and maybe don't even realize it, but like we carry even other people's emotions and other people's thoughts around with us all day. And unless you have ways and practices built into your life to release a lot of that and let it go, we end up holding it, and that builds up. That leads to a lot of stuff where we feel totally disconnected from ourselves or really out of alignment in our life. And so it's one of the 4 areas for me has been like, wow, what a thing to uncover, and the way that actually changes the experience of your daily life, like small moments, big moments, the regulation within yourself of being able to handle a lot that's happening outside of you, but the way that you handle it internally becomes more peaceful and calm versus everything being urgent and everything requiring your attention and being on all the time. I think a relationship to phones and technology and screens really get in the way of that nervous system relaxation, because our brains are craving dopamine all the time and craving to be on or wanting to be on. And it feels really weird when we're not. There's so many things that are deeper in these areas. So these are just some. I mean, maybe I'll do an episode of like the things I have learned, the top 40 lessons or top 40 things. But for now, I just wanted to share these are the 4 things that have really made such a big difference and have set up a life where it feels like I'm more in tune with myself. It's all related, like food, mindset, your physical body, the nervous system. These are the things I'm passionate about, the things I'm so interested in helping other women with, because I feel like they've made such a big difference in my own life as someone who's a high achieving eldest daughter, used to be such a perfectionist, of getting to this place of feeling contentment, ease, peace, joy, gratitude in my life, I think has been a lot because of the work and the time and awareness I've put into those 4 areas. So just a little encouragement, hopefully, as you're thinking about your own life and whatever season of life that you may be in. What are the things that seem to make the biggest difference for you? Like if you had to boil it down, what would the top 3 or 4 things that you spend time and energy or intention on that really make a difference in your life? This is what this is all about in the Insiders Club, where you get private coaching from me every other week. We talk about topics like this that are deeper and more meaningful. It's like this whole other layer that I feel like the older I get, the more I'm tapping into so much of the wisdom and the magic that is there and helping lead other women to that. Like none of this is stuff that people would necessarily see from the outside, but they can feel a difference in your presence. They can feel a difference in your vibe and the way that you go about your life, the way that you interact with people, your perspective on things, how you handle things when you have a little bit more education and time spent, I think, in these areas. Anyways, it's just made the biggest difference for me. And I love teaching about it. I can go on for hours about any of these 4 areas and how much they truly are connected. Like one without the other doesn't get you very far. it's just been such a game changer in my life. And I feel like the more that I am sharing about that more and in, containers like the Insiders Club, where we can talk about specific examples and what's going on in your life. It's so fun to see that in a group, like what's working really well for everyone. And you get different ideas for other women of how they're living more intentional lives, more grounded lives, more peaceful lives, more aligned lives. And that's really what it's all about. So as we start this new season ahead, these are just some things to think about. And how am I doing in each of these areas? And would some more time, attention, and love in any of these areas maybe help elevate my life? So I hope this was helpful. I would love to know your thoughts on this, or if you have any other questions about any of the things that we talked about today, come over and find me at Simply Real Health on Instagram, and we will be back here next week.
If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, make sure you're subscribed to the Simply Real Life podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe share it with a friend or two. That would mean the world.